My relationship with him grew weak. I failed him. I wandered astray in sin, in jail, away from everything I knew or loved. I guess you can say from childhood, grew up in a church family, and they didn't exercise their relationship. Church to me seemed like rituals and traditions. And teenage years I went on my way, learned how to go out and have fun with friends, and invited that stuff into my life in the form of tobacco, alcohol. Quit school to go to work to support them things, and thought I was being a man by supporting what I liked doing. There was many years of so-called fun, but in the end it turned out to be loneliness, despair, being enslaved to those things, and it led me to jail. Back in 2001 in jail, I started attending Bible studies just for something to do, and I knew of a God, but I didn't know God. So I was crying out to a God that I did not know. The night I truly invited God in my heart, I jumped awake out of a dream, and either God or I said, "It's not your time yet." My heart was beating out of my chest. My body was ice cold but sweating. So to me, it was like God was saying, "I'll take you home when it's time, but right now you have work to do on this earth." And had a great time sitting in jail, sadly enough to say. God's joy was bubbling out of me. I had time to have relationship and seek Him. When I got out, I got consumed in the work again, the busyness of life, and within a few months, I was back to having a couple beers after work, and before long, I was a slave to them things again. How come every time I tried to quit things, it was that much worse when I picked back up? I know years ago I used to think to myself when I was consumed in the drink, I said, well, at least I'm showing my nephews and nieces what not to do with their lives. And I was kind of proud of that, like going to jail. They'll know not to mess with the drink or this one because they see where it gets you. And those thoughts were wrong. After several years of being a slave to them, I picked up my Bible, went and stayed in a hay trailer at my neighbor's, helped them care for the horse, and detoxed myself. Once I was sobered up, I went back to make amends to my parents and told myself that if I didn't get involved in a church, I was going to wind up in the same boat. So that morning I got home, a flyer fell out of the newspaper in my lap. It was a church that I decided to start riding my bicycle to, and lo and behold, I met my wife there. After a couple of years, once my son was born, the busyness of life crept in, the pride of life, the pride of being a man, and I thought I'd finally be mature enough to handle being responsible with a couple of drinks, and that recently led me to another little spell of trouble, time away from my family, and for a time it might seem like isolation or loneliness, despair, a dungeon. It was in those places that I realized that the dungeon was the bottom of the alcohol bottle. To have been away from the family and sitting in a place that I didn't like being, to have that happiness and joy overflowing out of me. People thought I was nuts because I was had a smile while I'm in jail. I've gone the wrong way many times over. I've learned that my own mind can deceive me. Romans chapter 12 verse 2, one of my favorites. By the renewing of the mind, you will be transformed into His likeness. We see and we hear the things of this world almost all day, every day. So by the renewing of the mind, we should be much more diligent in that area of our lives. Being a father, the kids have to see me active in this relationship. They need to see me crying out to God when I'm troubled. They need to see me fellowshipping with the church family. I've now learned it's time to be more about God's business and less about what I think. So that's why I'm deciding to recommit, rededicate my life to His care, and hopefully with the help of my family around me, be able to grow a relationship with Him so I can bring glory to His name rather than shame. So here I am today. My name is Michael Bovin, and I've decided to follow Jesus.